Hi, my name is Brian DeSilvi, and this is my presentation on why you should use social media for your business and a brief how-to on kind of how to get started and just a basic tutorial on how to make a post and take a picture and edit a picture and do that sort of thing. This is by no means the most in-depth tutorial, but just a basic guideline on how to get started. So with that being said, let's get started. And first things first, why should you use social media for your business? A nice thing about it is that social media is easy to use for the most part. It can be as complicated as you want it to be, but you'll see in this presentation that for the most part, it's fairly simple to get started, and it's easy to use. And the nice thing about that as well is that it's no cost to start. So setting up a profile on any of these, be it Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, pretty much all of them, it costs nothing, just a little bit of time. Now, having said that, you can spend money on these as a business, and that will get you things like advertisements and preferential post exposure, like when it comes to scrolling, your post will pop up first and that sort of thing, but you don't have to. And a nice thing about these platforms as well is that there's multiple of them and that they all seem to work together as far as like the internet speak and the basic formula for creating a post and generating content, that sort of thing. It translates. So a post on Instagram, for example, can also be duplicated and posted to Facebook at the same time. So that way you're maximizing your exposure between platforms. Not everybody that's on Facebook is on Instagram and vice versa. Same with Twitter. Not everybody that's on Twitter is on the other two. So by mastering one of these, you essentially master all of them. And you have to tweak it here and there depending on what platform it is. But the basic rules applies, like I said. And lastly, why you should use it is that it's easy interaction between a company and the end user. So people can interact with your company's page, you can interact with customers' pages, and that sort of thing. Questions can be answered. And sometimes too, it's nice when it's a simple question and maybe the consumer doesn't want to call or email, or if they're, under 25, they don't know how to call or email, but they do know how to message on social media. And that way a company can respond easily and, get problem solved, or just have a satisfied customer experience. So having said that, covering the why, let's do how to set up a page. And first things first, you have to pick a profile name. Now this should be pretty self-explanatory for the most part, but here's some simple rules to follow. Have the name of the company in there. That's easy to remember and also covers what type of business it is. So my two examples here are Kansai Wheels and RacelineWheels.tx for Texas. Now, both of those are fairly simple. You get an idea of what they're about. And the Raceline Wheels one, having the .texas in there, you can tell it's the Texas branch. They have multiple branches. But if you're following that page or messaging them, interacting with them, that it's somebody that's in Texas. So the benefit of that is that it makes a bigger company feel smaller, if that makes sense. So by having that more localized profile, the local customers, they're interacting with a local rep or a local employee, that sort of thing. Now, piggybacking off of that, once you pick your name, you have to pick a picture. This is pretty simple. You want it to, good recommendations, use the company logo or an example of the product. Kansai is clean, simple. It's Kansai Wheel Company logo. Raceline's a little more in depth. As you can see, it's their logo, and then they've got a picture of a wheel superimposed on the background. But you just want this to stand out and to be easily distinguished, so when somebody's scrolling through it, they can see a quick snapshot of your picture, whatever your post is, and then, oh yeah, there's the logo. This is obviously a Kansai Wheels post, or whatever your company may be. So having said that, let's move on to the profile itself. Now, in creating a profile, this will vary a little bit from company to company and depending on what kind of business it is. For this example, I use Tealwear Culture. It's a clothing and lifestyle brand that doesn't have a storefront or traditional hours. It's just a small mom and pop shop running in my friend's garage, but they've got a good profile here. So they you want to have a description of what it is. So they're a clothing company, and they also are interested in like women in motorsports, and they've got this, here in this blurb down here, it kind of says what they're all about. Now, if they were a brick and mortar store, you would also have an hours of operation and a location so people could reach you, come in, stop by, that sort of thing. But for regardless of brick and mortar or online, you definitely want to have your website on there so people can go to that next step and order your product or find out more about you, whatever it may be. This is just a short blurb of what your company is about, kind of what they stand for, that sort of thing. So now that you've got your profile created, your picture picked out, all that good stuff, let's do our first post. Now, for my example post, I went with a collaboration that Teal Wear Culture and Aru Media were doing. They did a shirt that benefited both of them. And this is the meet where they were displaying it, or the get-together, whatever it was. So, as you can see, by following these simple guidelines, you can help get the most out of your picture. So this is a interesting picture in terms of what these two companies are about. So they're both about Japanese vehicles and the drift life and that sort of thing. So you've got the cars there that represent that. And then obviously Teal's a clothing company. So you've got your shirts there. Their merchandise is on the table behind the cars. That ties into, having the product in the picture. People want to see what you're about. And, with these companies, it's a little more of a lifestyle company as well. So you want to have the cool cars and that sort of thing. Stuff that's relevant to the company, that keeps people excited, and a quick look at it and they can tell what you're about. And last but not least, it's kind of a no-brainer, but it's happened to me before. Make sure your subject is in focus. There have been a couple of occasions where I've gone out, done a photo shoot, spent a couple hours perfecting these shots, making sure I get everything. Go to upload it and it's blurry and I can't use any of it. So a simple one, small one, but it can definitely ruin an afternoon. So make sure your pictures are in focus there. Now that you've taken your picture, let's go on to the editing the pictures. When it comes to editing your pictures, I like to keep it simple. Instagram comes with preset filters that you can apply to your pictures that change pretty much everything about them. The brightness, the contrast, basically all the settings that you can tweak individually, you can also do in these preset filters. The problem with those is that it feels like it's too much in most cases. So, prime example, these two posts right here from left to right. As you can see, the right is not tweaked that much from the left one. The brightness is enhanced a little bit. I brought some depth to the colors to make the cars and the logos pop and that sort of thing, but it's not so much editing that it detracts from the pictures. People aren't looking at the post to see how great of an editor you are. It's really to see what the content is about and what the brand's about and that sort of thing. So in this case, it's a clothing company and a media company that are focused primarily on Japanese cars and that sort of thing. So once you have edited your pictures, you've got to look in the way you want it to look. It's time to add captions, tag people, and add hashtags. Now, a caption is what it says. It's a brief description of what's going on in the picture. So this, again, was a get-together or a meet that I went to with these two companies, and it's a brief description of that. And as you can see, I've tagged, which is what those ads are, the company that was putting it on and the location it was at, as well as the two companies I was with. The more profiles that you can tag in a post, the more people are going to see it. Now, you can also, I'd like to tag them in the caption and in the picture as well. Now, to tag them in a picture, you simply click on the picture where you want to tag it. So right here, I clicked on the car. It brings down this drop down menu, and Aru Media, you select that, and then it tags it. And the reason you do this is that in case your picture gets picked up by another profile that chooses to reuse it, these tags will follow over with it. So, say you've only got 500 followers, but your post gets picked up by a profile that's got 100,000 followers. All of their followers are going to see your information in that post if they pick it up. And the hashtags are basically, people can search for content by hashtags. So you want to include hashtags that are relevant, again, to the post or to the company. So And this one I hashtag, it's a car meet, Civic, Datsun, Nissan, Honda. These are little car acronyms and things like that. But to people in the car world that are looking for this sort of thing, which is going to be your target demographic, the consumer you're going after, is going to be aware of what your hashtags are. And then finally, I'll leave you with this, just some things to remember. But be interactive on there. It's one thing to do a lot of posts in a day, but it's a different thing to actually interact with the people that comment and like it and are supporting your brand and what you're trying to do. And with interacting with commenters, ignore the negative commenters. It's the internet. Some people are very mean on the internet. They hide behind the keyboard. I find it best to just ignore them. Even if you're right, they're going to make you feel like you're wrong, and there's nothing worse than seeing a page that's getting into it with somebody who is just being a troll, for lack of a better word. And the last thing to remember when it comes to running the page is stay neutral for the most part. Today's day and age we live in, everything is so divisive, and it's this side or the other. When it comes to being, running a company's page, just stay out of it. There's no reason to get into any of that. It's not helping you make any money. So, having said that, I hope this has convinced you to use social media for business purposes. And thanks for coming to my TED Talk.